Welcome to Austin Stories. Today, the HOA leader wants to take down OP's $50,000 antique cars, so he hits them where it hurts, and we have some crazy entitled Karen stories today. Also, all the videos are in podcast form. Search for the Austin Stories podcast or check out the description in this video for a link. Here we go. $50,000 collector cars are eyesores to the HOA, posted by Whip Solo. Okay, so I've been dealing with this for the last 3 months, and it has finally reached its climax. For a little backstory, I own a towing company, and I'm currently renting a home within an HOA that I was not informed of when I signed the lease. My wife and I broke ground on our dream home days before lockdown went into effect last year. We signed a 2-year lease as we were offered a $250 reduction in rent if we did. The house has a 3-car garage attached to it, as well as parking for an additional 2 cars in the driveway. I keep my tow truck in the driveway or parked out on the street in front of the house, as it is classified as an emergency vehicle by the state, and it's not merely a commercial vehicle. This means it is not against the HOA to have it in the neighborhood. We also own many cars, as all 3 people living in the home are car nuts. Now, we do not keep that all at the home, but we do have a total of 6 cars at the home, plus the tow truck, which means 2 vehicles are always parked on the street. For reference, the cars we keep at home are a 1967 4-door Chevy Impala, a 67 Ford Galaxy, a 93 Mazda RX-7, a Nissan Silva, Subaru, and a BMW. Of these cars, all the imports have wide body kits that cost between $4 and $12 grand. This is important as to the value of the vehicles as well as looks. Look up Rocket Bunny and Liberty Walk to get an idea of what they look like. Okay, now for the story. After living here for just over 9 months, and as the lockdowns were ending, the world opened its weary eyes just to get punched in the face again. The HOA that we had absolutely no idea existed started by ticketing the tow truck which is parked on the street, stating that it cannot be parked on the street. Okay, I'll put it in the driveway, no problem. I pay the $150 fine to the HOA. And after getting the contract from the landlord and reading it, I figure it's best to just go along with it and not ruffle any feathers. By moving the tow truck into the driveway, I started parking the RX-7 on the streets. Now for the reason I listed the other cars. Now the 2 classic cars are kept in the garage, as well as the BRZ, as it's my project car, and I'm in the middle of building a very high-end drift car out of it. The other 2 people in the house drive the BMW and the Nissan every day. The very next day, I return home, and there are tickets on both the RX-7 and the Silva, which are parked on the street by our driveway. Numerous neighbors are also parked on the street, mind you, without tickets from the HOA. I immediately call the butthole in charge of the HOA to ask what the heck is going on. He tells me that our junk is devaluing the neighborhood and cannot be parked on the streets, and cites a rule in the HOA guidelines about vehicles being in disrepair or essentially a junk status needing to be put in a garage. I laughed, full-on gut chuckle. The guy I'm talking to drives an early 2000s Cadillac that may be worth $10,000. Butthole tells me that if the vehicles continue to be parked on the street, he will have them towed. Okay, let's play. I told the butthole that he needs to read his own manual and look at the vehicles he's talking about. Clearly, these cars are not in disarray. 10 days after the initial ticketing, he calls for a tow truck, and this is where I should mention that the reason my tow truck is listed as an emergency vehicle is because my company has the county police contract for their towing, as well as the township. When Small Guy Towing shows up to impound my vehicles, I'm not home. I get a call from Small Guy Towing that he's been sent to impound my cars. Now, we actually know each other from the businesses that we operate, and I often kick him work when we're holding over a 90-minute ETA to not upset customers. Small Guy Towing tells me that he has to tow my cars due to his contract with the HOA, but he doesn't have a truck that can tow these lowered cars without damaging them. Small Guy Towing asks me to come home and remove the bumpers so they'll go on his truck. Well, I told him that wasn't going to happen, and I hate to look for the other guy towing to send overflow work to while we see how the courts feel about the impounding and potential damages to the cars. He wisely decides to not tow the vehicles. Now, this was October of 2020. Since then, Small Guy Towing has called me dozens of times about the butthole calling him repeatedly to tow the vehicles. He tells him that the only company in the area that can tow these vehicles is my company. Finally, on July 5th, the butthole from the HOA calls my company to impound my cars. Okay, no problem. I sent 3 of my guys over in the shop pickup to drive my cars back to the shop where they were parked and kept for the last month. The wife started driving the Impala regularly as it is summer. Friday, we went to small claims court as I sued the HOA for towing cost, $250 per vehicle, as well as storage on each vehicle, $62 per day each, and an additional $3,000 for inconveniences due to not having the cars for daily transportation. Add on an additional $1,500 for lawyer fees too. After roughly 5 minutes, the judge asks for photos from the butthole HOA of the cars. He gives the judge the photos, and then the judge comments on how nice the cars are, and they're clearly not in disarray. I thank the judge and ask him if he can see the Cadillac parked on the streetway in the background of the photo, as well as the other 5 or 6 cars in frame. The judge affirms this and asks the HOA guy about these cars. He states that they are not in violation and even coughs up that the Cadillac is his car. The judge smiles a toothy grin and confesses to being a car guy and estimates that each of the 2 cars that have been impounded are worth $50,000 each, and the HOA guy's Cadillac would clearly be the eyesore of the community. The judge then dismisses the HOA's claims and explicitly tells him that he is not to tow any vehicles out of the neighborhood without police confirmation of their disarray or abandonment. Judge goes further and states that the HOA is in violation of the township ordinance as the streets are not private streets but belong to the township. The judge then grabs what I assume is a calculator and starts punching away. After about a minute and a half of pure silence, the judge looks up and says, "Okay, as stated before, HOA guy's claim for the HOA has been dismissed, and as for Whip's solo countersuit, I will rule in favor of the amount of $10,100 and $65.50 in court cost to Butthole's HOA." Butthole HOA guy lost his freaking mind. He went on a rant about communism and how the judge was the problem with this country and into election conspiracies and every whack job theory you'd hear from people like Alex Jones. The judge warned him twice and finally ordered him in contempt and invited him to have a weekend stay on the county's dime at the local jail. HOA guy will be home tonight as the judge set to release him at 6 p.m. The cars are back in their original spots, and I cannot wait for the hand wave and the grin as HOA guy comes home this evening. The funniest thing about this story right here is that, okay, we're going to tow your cars. Oh wait, you're not supposed to. Don't care, we're going to do it anyway. And it turns out nobody else can tow them but OP's company. So naturally he's got the upper hand in this, and he just hauls them off to his own shop place, takes the guy to court, proves that he is actually the winner here, and that the HOA guy's car is the eyesore itself. Top it all off, icing on the cake. The judge is a car guy, so he knows what OP's talking about, and he can just rule in his favor. He knows what's going on, and then everything falls apart. This house of cards that the HOA has developed, and OP comes out the winner. Way to go. Karen yells at the security guard for doing her job, posted by Daddy Dorian Art. My mother is well known to be a Karen, even joking about it herself sometimes. She's usually really sweet, but when it comes to staff or workers, her Karen side comes out full force. I have many stories about her antics, so she is labeled here as a Karen, since she wears the name proudly. Me and my partner are moving out of our house to a new town, so last week I moved back home with my parents for a few days to clean out my old storage room while my partner went down to the new town for his first day of school. My dad had a seizure the first day that I moved home, so my mom, Karen, asked me to help her with some general shopping while my grandmother watched my 4 siblings and took care of my dad. I drove us around town and to a few stores, eventually ending up at a Kmart. Think Walmart for us Kiwis, but no food, only general items. She wanted to get some workout gear, so we go in, we do our shopping, and we head to the checkouts. Here's where things get going. She grabbed the receipt and I grabbed the items, getting ready to walk out of the store. There had been lots of thefts recently due to the economic climate of my country at the moment, so security will quickly glance at your receipt, see the number of items that you have, and let you out. Usually they don't do this to everyone, just shady people, which has gotten the company in hot water because of racism and discrimination. So the company now makes it an effort to check all receipts, which I'm fine with. As we walk out, my mother makes it past the security scanners before the young lady working as a security guard asks to see the receipt. Big mistake. My mother immediately screws her face up and makes more than a few scoffing sounds before exclaiming loudly, "Excuse me? Do I look like someone who would shoplift?" At this point, everyone at the tills is looking over, and I feel like melting into a puddle to get away as I have social anxiety. The poor lady puts her hands up in an "oh no, Karen on the loose" gesture and politely explains that we need to check everyone's receipts so we aren't discriminating. Mother Karen puffs up and screws her face up more. But do I look like a shoplifter? All my clothes are labeled, all expensive brands. She then scoffs again, winding up for a whole tirade, waving the little paper that would save me from embarrassment all around, all while flapping her lips like a shocked fish. She is slowly turning into a lovely shade of tomato red and looks like she's going to burst. Realizing things are going to get much, much worse, I finally pick myself up out of my mental puddle, grab the receipt from her claws, and show the security guard who's still attempting to placate the raging she-beast. I hand it over politely saying, "Here, have a look, is this okay?" While gazing longingly at those sliding doors, as I know salvation from the dirty looks hitting the back of my head is only a few steps away. The poor security guard waves me through, and I grab my mother beast's shoulder to push her out. She relents, moving through and muttering about rights and managers and not doing her job, stamping her feet like a toddler. I look over my shoulder as we walk out and give the security lady, who looked like she had just been slapped, a little smile and mouthed apology. The last words I hear before the doors to salvation slid shut was the security guard commenting in a small voice, "I only needed to see the receipt. It's my job." I felt horrified. Relief flooded me as I realized that it was over. Embarrassment burning at my cheeks as I shepherded the Karen to the car. All while she's still going on about how outrageous this was and how she feels disgusting and like a vagrant, all because she was asked to show her receipt. Thinking this was over, I hopped in the front seat, hands shaking and eyes tearing up. But no, the Karen turns to me, scrunched up her face, and made one more remark. "This only happened because you look homeless. Wear a dress next time." Oh, thanks, Mom. Thanks. Oh my goodness. I mean, when you leave a store, if they check the receipt, it's nothing personal. They are literally doing their job, and all you got to do is show it. Then they let you go. They say, "Thank you, bye, have a great day," all the kind pleasantries. And now Miss Karen Mom comes in. It's the mom. That's what makes it even worse, right? Because it's your own mom, and you're embarrassed in the family and having to explain like, "Hey, I'm sorry," and then it's just so much worse when it's not a stranger like that. And then, only to get out to the car, thinking it's done, seeing all the wrath and chaos that was caused, the explosion happening in the distance as you're walking away, not looking at it. Then your mom gets to the car and says, "It's because of you, not me." Does that make your blood boil? Because that's what a narcissist does, is they blame you and not them. Take some responsibility, own up to yourself, Karen, because you have majorly failed this one. You failed it hard, and OP wins. Good job, OP. Way to go. Karen demands a copy of Super Mario Bros. And accuses my entire department of theft, posted by Gold and Silver 61. Oh, this one's going to be rough, I can already tell. Here we go. With the new Super Mario Bros. Movie opening in theaters soon, I thought I would share this story from when I worked at good old Wally World back around the mid-2000s. I was filling in at the electronics department, and it was a slow day. I was standing in the middle of the department waiting for a customer to assist. Finally, a middle-aged woman, the Karen of the story, walks in. I approached her and asked her, "Hi, how can I help you?" She replied, "I want to purchase the newest Super Mario Bros. Game." I said, "Hey, not a problem." I led her to the Nintendo cabinet, opened it, and pulled out a copy of the game. But Karen said, No, not that one." I responded, "Ma'am, this is the newest copy of Super Mario Bros." No, I want Super Mario for the PlayStation." I informed her that Mario is a Nintendo licensed property and that it is not sold on PlayStation. She responded, "Yes it is, I saw a commercial advertising it for the PlayStation, and that's what I want to buy." I tried my best to tell her that she did not see a commercial advertising Mario for the PlayStation. Of course, this went as well as you expected. She shouted, "Don't tell me what I did or didn't see. I know I saw a commercial advertising Mario for the PlayStation, and that's what I want." I showed her the copyright logo on the game case, stating that Mario was a Nintendo licensed game, but she still refused to believe me. So I led her to our PlayStation display case and said, "Ma'am, this is our current selection of PlayStation games for sale. As you can see, there are no copies of Super Mario Bros. So even if you are right, we just don't carry copies of the game here." With this, I had just hoped that she would just accept that we didn't sell copies of the game for the PlayStation and just walk away. But if she did, I wouldn't be posting here. Instead, she started accusing me of stealing all the copies of Mario Bros. For the PlayStation to sell online at double the cost so I can make a profit. Dumbfounded, I asked what the heck she was basing this off of. Realizing I wasn't going to get through to her, I called over a coworker for assistance. I turned to the coworker and said, "You don't know the conversation I've had with this lady." He nods yes. I turned to Karen and said, "There is no way I could have prompted him on what you wanted coming into this department. So, with that in mind, please ask my coworker what you want." Karen turns to my coworker and tells him that she wanted the newest Super Mario Bros. On the PlayStation. He tells her the same thing that I did, that Mario isn't sold on PlayStation consoles. Of course, she lumps my coworker into the conspiracy that the two of us must be stealing all the copies of the game for PlayStation and selling them online at double the cost. The department manager finally sees the scene that Karen was making. He rushes over, tries to calm her down and tell her that Super Mario Bros. Isn't sold on the PlayStation, but she lumps him in on it and, as the department manager, accused him of being the ringleader of the operation. Cue the crocodile tears as she says, "All I wanted to do was to buy a copy of Super Mario for the PlayStation for my son's birthday, but you monsters have ruined his and countless other children's birthdays by stealing the game from the store so you can sell them online at double the cost. Well, Walmart has lost a valued customer this day. I'm going to go to another store, find a copy of Super Mario Bros. For the PlayStation, bring it back here, and expose you all." Karen began to storm off, but I couldn't let her get the last word in. I yelled back, "Ma'am, go ahead and try to find a copy of Super Mario Bros. For the PlayStation at a different store. If you can, bring it back here and I will give you my next paycheck." Needless to say, we never saw or heard from her again. I guess she wasn't able to find Super Mario Bros. For the PlayStation after all. Oh, look here. Since 1985, when Super Mario Bros. Released, even before that, when he was with Donkey Kong and all that other stuff, that has never existed. That Karen has such an entitlement issue, saying that I am right, I heard this, and I know what's going on. That even if midway through this conversation, she realized, oh crap, I'm wrong, she would not say that, because that would involve humility and dropping the pride and admitting defeat and being wrong. So she doubles down on it and just accuses everyone else, lashing out to just deflect, taking what they're saying, deflecting it, and then boom, they just completely level her out. She says the whole department is on some gigantic eBay theft ring or some bullcrap, and then finally push comes to shove, or shouting, and then OP offers a paycheck because there is literally no licensing for the Mario franchise outside of Nintendo. If you know anything about Nintendo, you'll know that they are pretty dang sticklers about what their IPs are, their intellectual properties. OP, thank you for holding your ground, but even from the get-go, she wasn't going to listen, man. It's a lost cause with this Karen, as they all are. But of course, way to go, OP. HOA Karen president puts the first responders and homeowners in danger. Click the video on the screen. You don't want to miss the fallout of this crazy story if you like this one, and I'll see you over there.